What is up? What is up, everybody out there in the YouTube Wonderland? I don't know if anybody's going to hear this. Um, this is a relatively new channel of mine, and I'm heavily shadow banned, but um, I'm kind of doing a spiritual, not kind of, I am doing a spiritual reset. The last 5 years, 2022 up until now, have been a spiritual whirlwind for me. A lot good, some bad, I guess. Not, I wouldn't say bad, but just questioning things. Um, even at one time leaving the faith for paganism. But you know what? I'm going through this spiritual reset right now, and kind of just going back. Not kind of. I am going back to the drawing board of Christianity. Definitely need that. And in my experience in the various denominations of Christendom, and I like what friend said to me, that all these denominations, they're trying to put a patent on God. Like they have the copyright to God. And one of the commonalities I notice with the various denominations from one degree to from in varying degrees is they complicate what should be a simple message of the faith. And in the spiritual reset, I've decided to go back to the drawing board, to go back to my first love, Jesus, meaning I'm just going to, one of the things that through all of this I've learned is Christianity is a very, very simple faith. And in my walk of being a Christian, I've started churches, meaning home churches. I've gone a lot of door-to-door knocking, preaching at parks, going to events and preaching, open air preaching, street corners, downtown areas of little cities, and passing out tracts. Even, right before COVID hit, literally the weekend before COVID hit and the lockdowns began, rented a park recreation center and preached the Davidic covenant. And that was awesome because it was literally, if I had scheduled it a week later, it would have got canceled because of COVID. And so I have experienced a lot in my walk as a Christian. Two YouTube channels getting canceled, me getting doxxed and losing my job because of one YouTube video I did, or several videos, and have been heavily shadow banned, and recently joining the Catholic Church. And but through all that, I've kind of went through the spiritual, like just kind of I delved into a lot over the last 5 years, politically, spiritually, reading a lot of books, philosophy, and I'm still into all those things like philosophy, political books. But the one thing is that is so pressing upon me when I read the Bible is that this is meant to be a simple faith. And I've done the thing. I've joined churches. I've started churches, home churches, I should say, and been in ministry, was full-time ministry in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, grew up, born and raised Catholic, recently returned to the Catholic Church. But I'll be honest with you, I'm now unloading everything and I'm starting from scratch. And the intent of this channel is not I'm not trying to start a movement. I'm not trying to start an online community or a physical denomination. My goal with this channel is simply to preach the simplicity of the faith, but rooted in what God has showed me at least 7 years ago, more than 7 years ago, 7.5 years ago. The hidden gem of Christianity, which is the Davidic covenant. You know, going back to the Catholic Church, I kind of was romanticizing it because they do believe Jesus is on the throne of David. They do believe that the church, the New Testament church, is the new Davidic kingdom on earth, that the millennium is spiritual. It's not a future millennium, but the millennium is the new covenant church age from the time of the cross up until Christ's second advent. But in joining and coming back, and for over a year, I was going and still believing what I believe about things, which I'll explain in a few minutes. I officially joined, meaning I just confessed but I realized there was a lot of baggage in terms of their doctrinal, their practices, the papacy, that type of thing, and the problems that come with that. The problems that come with them, a lot of Catholicism is rooted in Aristotelian philosophy. Thomism, St. Thomas Aquinas heavily relied on Aristotle. And in full disclosure, I still attend the Catholic Church, and I will still attend. I take the Eucharist. I do believe the communion is the literal body and blood of Christ. I believe that Mary is at the right hand of Jesus as the Queen of Heaven. Revelation 12, the Davidic Queen Mother. I do pray the Rosary. I love the Catholic Mass. I love the Latin language. I love the aesthetics and beauty of the Catholic Church. I just don't agree with a lot of their doctrines. And a lot of people will say, well, then why do you go? And you get into all that. But this is the point I'm making here. Is I'm not trying to start something new. I'm not trying to start a movement. And my message that I have is for every Christian, no matter what denomination you're a part of. Because God just revealed to me, I would say less than a year ago, that I'm done with all the Christian gangbanging. Whether it's Catholic versus Orthodox, or whether it's Orthodox versus Protestant, Protestant versus Catholic, Unitarian versus Trinitarian, Semi-Arian versus Trinitarian, and all the little oneness, Pentecostalism versus Trinitarianism and Unitarianism, whatever, I'm done with all that. It's a fool's errand to try to fight those battles. And the intent of my channel is not to get people to adopt my views, leave their church, and that's it. That and my new philosophy in terms of Christianity is work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Meaning, it's not my job to go around deciding who's saved and who's not based on what church they go to, try to pull them away from their church. People have to make their own decisions in life. My goal on this channel was simply to preach the Davidic covenant gospel. What you do with that will be up to you. I don't recommend or unrecommend you either staying or leaving your church. This is not what this channel is about. Like I said, I've done a lot in terms of I've started home churches. I've been part of churches. I worked full time for the Seventh-day Adventist Church. I've been through the ringer with that stuff, and a lot. I honestly will say this: I've had great experiences in it, but I'm at the time of my life that my mission is not to do that. God actually told me that in October, November of 2020, when I moved to the desert. He told me, don't set up a home church. Don't try to go door to door knocking, open air preaching. Although I opened air preach like one time or a couple times, God told me not to do that. And my mission is to impart that to you, the Davidic covenant gospel, so that it would nourish you, strengthen you, enrich you, edify you, so that you can share with your family, fellow brothers and sisters in Christ, whatever church you may go. My attitude about whether people should join a certain church or not join, I'm neutral on that. I'm neutral. Because at the end of the day, you could say, well, I'm going to leave this church because it teaches this. Then you join this other church. Well, someone else somewhere else is going to think you're wrong for joining that church because it teaches this. And it's a never-ending cycle. And ad infinitum, Christians are debating each other, arguing with each other, casting each other to hell. I'm done with all that. It's a fool's errand. It's like the definition of insanity. You do the same thing expecting a different result, and yet Christianity has come no closer in unity. So my goal specifically is to preach the simplicity of the faith, what I believe, and my goal is that you would listen and that you would be enriched by it so it can enrich your Christian life, which should be mostly lived out in real life. And I believe the simplicity of the gospel and the Davidic covenant, namely, will do that for you. Now, if there's people out there that want to start their own fellowships based on what I teach, the Davidic covenant gospel, you're more than welcome to. And having had friends who have received my message, some of them do have the mentality like, hey, you shouldn't go to a church because it's against this. I just like, and I'm fine with people having that view. It's just, that's not my point. That's not the point of this. I deny the Trinity. I deny much of Catholic doctrine as we know it today. I would describe myself as a primitive Catholic, and what does that mean? The Apostles' Creed is my doctrine. The Didache, obviously the Bible, sacred scripture. I don't believe Mary is the mother of God. I believe she's the mother of the Son of God, and I believe Mary had children and had sexual relations with her husband Joseph, and I do believe she's in heaven on the right hand of Jesus as the Davidic Queen Mother, Revelation 12, and I believe the 144,000 are in heaven already. Now, what I'm going to tackle on this channel as well, and I'm going to talk about a spiritual reset, is I'm going to explore full preterism. And I'll be honest with you, I'm about 70% there, but there are some lingering skepticism I have towards it, but I'm 70% there. And my goal on this channel is strictly to encourage people, to exhort people. If you don't agree and you want to argue, this is not the channel for, man. That's tired. I don't owe a person anything in arguing with them. I don't owe anybody anything that I have to sit there and go back and forth and debate. There's plenty of channels that do that. This is strictly for those who want to hear. Whatever you do with it, take it to your church, whatever. And I would also advise, don't go causing trouble at your church because, you believe this and they teach this. I would say, be gentle. You don't need to go causing trouble in your family because they may believe different. But you can live out these truths, and when given the opportunity to share it in love, and so that's really what this channel is going to be about: the simplicity of the faith, the Davidic covenant gospel, and the reality that Christ is king now on the throne of David, that we're kings and priests as Christians, that his kingdom is spiritual, not physical, in terms of an earthly, physical kingdom. It's a spiritual kingdom that is within. And we as Christians that understand that should live that out. We should live it out daily. And that's my goal here. And if will preterism be true, and even if it isn't, I would still have this mentality, then that should also cause us to not have this type of frantic do or die Christianity because we're waiting for Christ to come back, but our faith should cause us to live out his virtues and kingdom build here on the earth, because we do reign on the earth. It's not a physical geopolitical kingdom, but we are the representatives of that earth. Davidic covenant, anybody who's known me, anybody who hears who's heard my teachings on my channels in person, knows that that is my mission in life. And I have to be faithful to it. And what God has shown me, I'm not here to start a church. I'm just here to share that truth, to bring out the treasure that is so hidden. I mean, most churches, even the Catholic Church that believes it, they rarely ever talk about it. And so that's the goal on this channel. I'll be doing videos and all that stuff. It's going to be strictly based on the teachings of the Bible, moral teachings, but also everything from the standpoint of the Davidic covenant. Anybody that listens is welcome to email me. You can request it. My email address, and I could show it and discuss. The one thing I'm not here to do is debate with people, argue which church is better, argue why I should leave this. No. We're not going to do that here. It's a strictly encouraging exhortation type of thing. There will be hard teachings that talk about sin in a very hard way. And that's what this will be about going forward. It's a refresh, a reset. And I pray that whoever comes across this channel will be blessed, encouraged, because at the end of the day, the salvation of Jesus Christ is precious and it's free. And what I really believe that most of Christianity is guilty of doing, and it's not just the denominational church system, it's not just the traditional Christian apostolic churches, but it's even online communities, home churches. The one commonality I see among a lot of these groups is a legalism, is them thinking that they have the patent on God. They have the copyright on God. And many of them would say, well, we're going to defend the truth. You don't believe this, so this shows that you're a heretic. You're a child of the devil. And really, it's a landmine, because if you believe one thing that someone agrees with, well, you may be good in their eyes, but then there's tons of others that think you're a heretic. And then if you leave that person's belief, they think you're a heretic. The other people embrace you, but then there's another 1,000 that think you're a heretic. It's a never-ending cycle of landmines of you're a heretic, you're not, you're going to hell, you're not, you're a child of the devil, child of God, whatever. I'm done. Like, I'm out of that. Salvation, fear and trembling, work it out on yourself, on your own. I've met too many good Christians of all stripes, Catholic, Protestant, okay, various denominations, various views on the Godhead, and I will leave it to God and His Son Jesus Christ to the judgment, do it at the judgment seat. Now, a non-Christian, obviously, they're not saved. I'm talking about people that claim the name of Christ, believe that we are saved by His blood, and even if they have some extracurriculars that I don't agree with, I just will let God do that judging. And I want to focus on bringing that Davidic covenant truth so that when I leave this green earth, I've done my part in pouring out to others and leaving treasure for them. So that 20 some odd years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years, 15, 35, 50, there is an archive of this. Someone listens and said, wait a minute, I don't hear this at the churches. And my goal isn't to blast and cast dispersion upon churches, but just to bring out what is right there in front of the eyes of people that read the New Testament, the Old Testament. Because when you discover and embrace the Davidic covenant gospel, it brings so much freedom. And not only that, but it shows you exactly your position in the kingdom before God, the Father, and His Son, Jesus Christ. It shows exactly your position, where you stand. Contrary to all the churches, and they all do this for the most part, that identify you as a sinner after being down from above. And it's also contrary to those who would agree with that we're not sinners after we got from above, but have a very legalistic, sinless, perfectionist mindset. When you embrace the Davidic covenant gospel, it brings so much grace, so much freedom, and you realize how valued you are in your kingdom, and you don't have to listen to people saying you're a wretched sinner anymore. You're just a disgusting sinner because what? You're a king, queen, and a priest, because that's all part of the Davidic covenant. Anyways, hopefully you enjoy this channel. I will start making videos, studies, and God bless you. Hail Christ, hail victory.